Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar briefs the country's political parties on Bangladesh situation. Bangladesh's president says an interim government and new election will soon be announced. Iran says it must punish Israel for Hamas leaders' killing, but does not want to escalate tensions. The US says all parties must exercise restraint. Putin aide visits Tehran for talks. Fiji confers its highest civilian award on India's President Draupadi Murmu. The President tells Fiji's parliament that India is ready to engage with the Pacific island on all fronts. And the Indian men's hockey team to take on Germany in a semi-final clash at the Paris Olympics hopes to enter an Olympic final after 44 years. The Indian government held an all-party meeting in New Delhi on Tuesday to discuss the situation in Bangladesh. India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar briefed party leaders on the developments in Bangladesh. He will give a suo motu statement regarding the situation in Bangladesh at 3:30 IST in the lower house of the parliament. Earlier, the minister appreciated the unanimous support of and understanding shown by the leaders. People in Bangladesh are waiting to see what unfolds a day after Sheikh Hasina resigned and left the country. Some normalcy returned to the capital of Dhaka as the country awaits the formation of a new government. Army Chief General Wakiruzzaman met protesters on Tuesday. Earlier, the Army Chief held talks with leaders of political parties, excluding Hasina's Awami League, to discuss about the way ahead. President Mohammad Shahabuddin said an interim government will hold elections as soon as possible after consulting all parties and stakeholders. Student leaders want Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus as interim government's chief advisor. They said that they will not accept a military-led government.
We will not accept any other government other than the one proposed by us. We will not accept the government supported by the military or the fascist. Any proxy government or government against the people will not be accepted.
Right, joining us is my colleague Amrit Pal Singh. Amrit, what more can you tell us about the meeting that Minister Jaishankar addressed and spoke to lawmakers about the situation in Bangladesh?
For External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar tried to explain what the situation there is, how the political instability could affect India, and also what the government is doing to secure the borders. The BSF primarily is trying to see to how to secure the borders, and there is no spillover. Also, he apprised them of how the Indian mission there is, working to establish, to see that the India-Bangladesh, the resignation of Sheikh Hasina does not have an impact on the Indo-Bangladesh relations in the long term. Also, in terms of he pressed upon political parties to at this point in time make indulge in responsible politics because it could have a cascading effect on the other side as well. So and he explained that why under what circumstances Sheikh Hasina was brought into India, that how the Bangladesh military and Sheikh Hasina got in touch with the Indian government asking asking them for her to be flown into India, given that her life was in danger, and how India that she's expressed her interest in moving on to another country, which India respects her decision, and as a neighboring country, why it had to accommodate her here. So the External Affairs Minister basically took the lawmakers into confidence at this all-party meeting and talked about these things.
Right, Amrit Dostrian. Joining us also is Ambassador Veena Sikri. She's a former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh. Ambassador Sikri, welcome to DD India News. How worried would New Delhi be?
Well, New Delhi is watching the situation with a great deal of interest and concern. Because any instability in Bangladesh has a strong possibility of spilling over onto the Indian side or onto the states bordering Bangladesh. We have a 4,000-kilometer long border. And we do know that because of this worry and concern that the Indian government has actually established a curfew area, that for 200 meters on the Indian side of the border, a curfew is being observed as of yesterday, and I think it will continue till the situation in Bangladesh comes around to calm. So I think that this is the main concern, and we would like always in Bangladesh for there to be stability, for there to be democracy, and for there to be continued development. So these are the three factors that we look for in Bangladesh at all times. It's a very important neighbor, and a neighbor with whom we had developed a very dynamic win-win situation of mutually beneficial cooperation, whether it is on connectivity, whether it is on the friendship pipeline, whether it is on the Maitri vaccine, on every aspect, education, infrastructure development, on every aspect, we had a program with Bangladesh. And obviously, we'd like those elements to continue because those are meant for the people of Bangladesh, for their benefit. So if there is going to be any change, there has been a change in government, but the new government should be such that is acceptable to all groups of society. I'm glad to see the statement by the president of Bangladesh, where he has said that he wants early elections by an interim government where all stakeholders are involved.
Including Awami League?
Yes, well, when he says all stakeholders, it has to include the Awami League.
Because Awami League was not invited to the meeting that President held with the army chief and other stakeholders.
No, the army chief had meetings with some parties. The army chief had, and the army chief mentioned in that meeting the Jamaat-e-Islami.
Okay.
Actually, he mentioned Jamaat-e-Islami. So actually, the conclusion many people are drawing is that the Jamaat-e-Islami is playing a preponderant role right now. And in fact, what began as a quota reform movement by the students is actually now morphed into something totally different. Is morphed into, where the Jamaat-e-Islami is trying to take over and control the entire situation through their students' wing, the Islami Chhatra Shibir. And we know that, that they have been very, very active. And even in the visuals you saw yesterday from Bangladesh, where you see people are bringing down the statues of Father of the Nation, Sheikh Mujib. Now, this is not students. It's not students who will bring down. You can see now in these very same visuals you're showing in Gana Bhavan, which is the Prime Minister's residence. I mean, are these students who are breaking down and taking away pots and pans and paintings and things like that? I mean, this is the same thing that happened in Sri Lanka a year or so ago.
Indeed. Indeed.
So and we saw that in Pakistan as well, where and the people are standing on the tables, and so this is a kind of a anarchy that was being created, and people are carrying away all kinds of things. So I think that the need for stability and calm is very, very important, and it is also good to hear from your report that today the situation is much calmer than yesterday, because the first indication is the first watching point for India is to see how calm this situation is. But who are the people in control? I mean, we heard the voice of one of the students' coordinators, but he's being flanked by others. The student movement does not have any one leader. It is a very amorphous movement. It had coordinators from different universities and different groups, So actually, to say that this is a hierarchical movement and there's one leader like the person who just spoke, no, it's not like that. There are many other groups. In
Right.
fact, we all know that in the quota reform movement, the students were actually with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. And in the appeal to the Supreme Court to abolish the quota, she actually was supported by some students' groups who joined the Attorney General of Bangladesh in appealing to the Supreme Court for the quota. And that decision came on 21st of July when the Supreme Court said that there'll be only a 5% quota
Right.
for the children of freedom fighters and 2% for others. So obviously this whole business of talking of students
Right.
is not really in consonance with what's happening. I mean, all these visuals that you're seeing,
Indeed.
and here are people on the street. I don't see that it's the students. In fact, the students accompanied by their parents have probably now gone back to their homes long back. So
Right.
it's a very different kind of a scenario now that is prevailing. That is, we want to
Absolutely.
avoid continued instability. That is our main concern,
Right.
as I would see it.
Well, Sikri, I'll come back to you momentarily. Let me get in a word from my colleague Amrit as well. Amrit, what do we know about the evacuation of Indian nationals from Dhaka, about the Indian High Commission staff for that matter, or students and others?
For the moment, they are staying put there because they've been the Indian government had in any case put out an advisory saying that people should not travel and those who wish to come back come back. But as there are emergency numbers that the embassy had put out, the High Commission had put out that for students to get in touch. But right now they're waiting and watching because it is not really targeted. It's really an internal political problem that they're having, and as things calm down, people, those who are doing business there, those who are studying there, may want to carry on because schools and colleges have been opened, curfew has been lifted.
Right.
But there are said to be about 6,000 in number who study there, and who Indian nationals, 6,000 in numbers who study and do business there. But if they want to come back, of course, once the airport opens, they could come back. But right now there is restriction at the land borders. The land borders have been put on high alert, both in Assam, in Tripura, and also West Bengal, because of the evolving situation. So it's really a wait-and-watch situation. That if there is no danger to life and property of the Indian nationals,
Right.
they can continue to stay here. But the government's kept an option open.
Right. Let me also go back to Ambassador Sikri. Ambassador Sikri, a couple of quick questions to you. One, Sheikh Hasina has taken shelter in India before. Now, this was after the assassination of Mujib in 1975. Is she seeking shelter in India again? And should India agree to host her, number one? And number two, Pakistan and China can be expected to fish in troubled waters. It should not surprise anyone, least of all India. How should New Delhi navigate the next few days or weeks or months for that matter?
Well, I think it's not a question of Pakistan and China fishing in troubled waters. They may have been causing the troubled waters.
Right.
I mean, the point is that student movements all over the world, we've seen, if the student movements are genuinely independent and launched by and for the students, many of them have petered out. They have discussions with governments, they get their problems resolved, and the movement peters out. But wherever you have seen student movement backed by other forces who come in and then push the students to make certain demands and create the havoc, then you have problems. And I think in Bangladesh, this is what seems to have happened. That they have been the Islami Chhatra Shibir, the students' wing of the Jamaat-e-Islami, they seem to have taken over the situation. And at a time when everything was calming down, you had the Islami Chhatra Shibir coming on to fan the movement. On Sunday, the Daily Star of Bangladesh actually put out a study because they had been seeing the deaths that taken place up to that point. And they said there were 204 people who died in all up to Sunday. And of them, only 53 were students. Of course, 53 is why should 53 students die? I agree with you on that. But to say that it's only the students, there were the police officials, there were the civilians, there were the non-students who were there who took part. So, it's a very moot point to first find out exactly how the situation developed. And now, certainly, when you're looking for for stability, then you want to have a situation which is accepted by all. Now, we saw that one of the student leaders, coordinators, talking about Professor Dr. Mohammed Yunus. But is he acceptable to others? Is the Jamaat-e-Islami going to accept him as the chief advisor? There are all these questions.
Right.
And that is why, despite the passage of about 24 hours now, we don't have an interim government there. We don't have a government. We have the army chief who says he's in control. But then many people say the army chief himself may be on a very weak wicket because he was appointed just about a month or two ago by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina.
Right.
And they say that he's related to her family. So it's a very complex and very volatile situation. We have to be very, very careful in watching it. And I think that the sooner the students resolve it among themselves,
Right.
that would be, Yeah.
Indeed, very complex, very volatile, says Ambassador Veena Sikri. Ambassador Sikri, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts and views with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you, appreciate it. Also, thanks to my colleague Amritpal Singh for joining us on this broadcast. Appreciate it. Thank you. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India hosts the first Bay of Bengal initiative for multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation business summit in New Delhi. India hosts a multinational air exercise codenamed Tarang Shakti 2024 in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. And search for missing persons in India's landslide hit Wayanad continues for the 8th day.
We have with us shooter Arjun Babuta. You ended 4th in this edition of Paris Games. What do you have to say about your performance?
I just finished 4th and it is very close to the medal pace, but overall I try my best and I'm proud of it. I belong to a middle class family and it was very challenging for us to get all these expensive equipments and to maintain those expenses. I'm very thankful to TOPS for all this, and it played a big role in my success.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. India's President Draupadi Murmu is on a state visit to Fiji, where Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka called on her in the capital, Suva. Both leaders held wide-ranging discussions and agreed to build upon the historic ties and strengthen the partnership between the two nations. President Murmu and Fiji Prime Minister also presided over a ceremony for handing over of documents for allocation of project sites for High Commission of India Chancery and Indian Cultural Centre complex in Suva and a 100-bed super speciality hospital in Fiji's capital city. India's President Draupadi Murmu addressed the Parliament of Fiji on Tuesday, highlighting strong relations between India and Fiji. The President said India is ready to engage with Fiji on all fronts.
10 years ago, speaking in this same hall, Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, had underlined some basic values that unite India and Fiji. These include our democracy, the diversity of our societies, our creed that all human beings are equal, and our commitment to the liberty, dignity, and rights of every individual. These shared values are eternal and shall continue to guide us ahead.
As India completes 75 years of diplomatic relations with Fiji, President Draupadi Murmu praised the high level of engagement between the two countries.
As we celebrate the 75 years of India's diplomatic presence in Fiji, I am pleased to see the strong growth in our high-level engagements, development projects, and our people-centric activities. In the last 18 months alone, 15 ministerial-level visits have taken place on both the sides. The historic meeting of both our Prime Ministers in May 2023 during the FIPIC 3 summit has given new energy and direction to our bilateral ties.
Fiji President conferred the Companion of the Order of Fiji upon President of India Draupadi Murmu on Tuesday. This is the highest civilian award of Fiji. President Murmu said that this honor is a reflection of the deep ties of friendship between India and Fiji. India's President Draupadi Murmu visited the Mahatma Gandhi Memorial High School in Suva, Fiji. The President said, and she paid floral tributes to the statue of Mahatma Gandhi and interacted with the students there. President Murmu also paid her respects at the National War Memorial in Suva. The President said tributes to the brave souls who sacrificed their lives for the nation and for humanity at large. India's President Draupadi Murmu praised Indian diaspora during her address in a community reception at Suva, Fiji on Tuesday. India's President Draupadi Murmu reiterated that Indian diaspora in Fiji has significantly contributed to the development of Fiji and the Pacific region.
अपने दोनों देशों के बीच मित्रता को मजबूत करने की प्रक्रिया में एक जीवंत पुल, लिविंग ब्रिज के रूप में भूमिका निभाए हैं। जहां भारतीय प्रवासियों ने लगभग हर देश में अपनी छाप छोड़ी है, वही फिजी में आपकी असाधारण यात्रा विशेष रूप से दुनिया के लिए महान प्रेरणा का स्रोत है।
India will host the first Bay of Bengal initiative for multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation business summit in India's capital, New Delhi, on Tuesday. The business summit will be inaugurated by India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and other ministers, and they will deliver a keynote address as well. The first edition of the Business Summit aims to foster greater regional collaboration through robust trade and investment relations among the member countries of Bimstec. The event will bring together more than 300 key stakeholders from across the Bay of Bengal region to facilitate economic collaboration and explore ways ahead in focus areas such as trade facilitation, regional connectivity, energy security, inclusive growth and sustainable development. India is hosting its first multinational air exercise codenamed Tarang Shakti 2024 on Tuesday in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. In the exercise, nearly 30 countries are participating, and out of 30, 10 countries will join the exercise with their fighter aircraft. The exercise is being conducted in two phases, which aims to showcase India's defense prowess and provide a platform for participating militaries to foster interoperability. The ex-Tarang Shakti will achieve these objectives through the participation of different countries. It will be achieved through the successful completion of intricate operations involving the accomplishment of different missions by the participating countries, thus improving different capabilities simultaneously. The search for missing persons in Wayanad landslides continues for the 8th day. The total confirmed death toll is 226, while rescue teams have retrieved 181 body parts. A thorough search will be conducted on both sides of the Chaliar River on Tuesday, with special focus on Sunrise Valley near Suchiparai Walls. There's still a small portion which remains inaccessible so far. Rescue persons will be airlifted to this area using choppers. In other areas, rescue groups will continue their search with the help of dog squads. Meanwhile, no rain alert is issued anywhere in Kerala on Tuesday. State Government Employee Association has agreed to contribute their 5-day salary to Kerala CM Disaster Relief Fund to aid the Wayanad disaster victims. Earlier on Monday, mass cremation of unidentified 30 dead bodies and 152 body parts took place with prayer from the priests of all religions. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert for the states of Manipur, Mizoram, Gujarat, Sikkim, West Bengal, Nagaland, Tripura, Assam, Meghalaya, Maharashtra and Rajasthan, predicting severe rainfall. The Met Department has said that monsoon conditions will stay active over central and adjoining northwest India for the next 2 days. The temperature in the national capital is likely to hover between 26 to 25 degrees Celsius. According to the IMD, the sky will be mostly cloudy. There will be very little rain, thunderstorms or strong surface winds. Western Madhya Pradesh is likely to receive heavy rainfall in the coming days. In the meantime, there will be rain also in Goa and Konkan regions. And now take a look at what else is making news in India. A contingent of Indian Air Force has arrived in Kuantan, Malaysia for a bilateral exercise Udara Shakti 2024. With focus on strengthening the ties, sharing maintenance practices and improving operational coordination between the two air forces, IAF Su-30 MKIs will fly alongside RMAF Su-30 MKMs. A first ever all-women mountaineering team of the Border Security Force flagged off from Delhi for an expedition to scale a 7,130-meter peak located in Uttarakhand. The contingent of 12 female mountaineers are aiming to scale the Mount Mukut East and unfurl the national and the forces flags on the summit. On the occasion of the 78th Independence Day, the Indian nation will witness the celebrations from the Red Fort in New Delhi in the presence of special guests from across India. These guests are especially invited to the capital to witness the hoisting of the national flag by the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Special guests, including representatives from farmer-producer organizations, have been invited to these celebrations. Amid heightened security, another batch of Amarnath Yatra pilgrims departs from Panth Chowk, Srinagar base camp for Baltal and Pahalgam routes under heightened security measures. The Amarnath Yatra commenced on 29th of June and will conclude on the 19th of August. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Riots continue across UK towns and cities. 378 people arrested. US presidential candidate Kamala Harris likely to announce her vice presidential pick. And Japan marks the 79th anniversary of the Hiroshima bombing.
This summer, the world turns its eyes to Paris, and DD India brings you every heartbeat, every victory, and every story. Introducing our special coverage of the Paris Olympics. Experience the passion, the drama, and the triumphs. With exclusive reports, expert analysis, and up-to-the-minute updates. Join us as we bring the spirit of the Olympics to your screens.
Get ready for the ultimate sporting extravaganza on DD India.
DD India presents Champions Day Paris. Only on DD India. Every day at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Let's go live to the upper house of India's parliament, where Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar is giving a statement on Bangladesh situation.
So, despite a Supreme Court judgment on 21 July, there was no let-up in the public agitation. Various decisions and actions taken thereafter only exacerbated the situation. The agitation at this stage coalesced around a one-point agenda, that is that the Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, should step down. On 4th August, events took a very serious turn. Attacks on the police, including police stations and government installations, intensified even as overall levels of violence greatly escalated. Properties of individuals associated with the regime were torched across the country. What was particularly worrying was that minorities, their businesses and temples also came under attack at multiple locations. The full extent of this is still not clear. Sir, on 5th August, demonstrators converged in Dhaka despite the curfew. Our understanding is that after a meeting with leaders of the security establishment, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina apparently made the decision to resign. At very short notice, she requested approval to come for the moment to India. We simultaneously received a request for flight clearance from Bangladesh authorities. She arrived yesterday evening in Delhi. The situation in Bangladesh, sir, is still evolving. The Army Chief, General Waqar-uz-Zaman, addressed the nation on 5th August. He spoke about assuming responsibility and constituting an interim government. We are in close and continuous touch with the Indian community in Bangladesh through our diplomatic missions. There are an estimated 19,000 Indian nationals there, of which about 9,000 are students. The bulk of the students, however, have already returned to India in the month of July on the advice of the High Commission. In terms of our diplomatic presence, in addition to the High Commission in Dhaka, we have assistant High Commissions in Chittagong, Rajshahi, Khulna and Sylhet. It is our expectation that the host government will provide the required security protection for these establishments. We look forward to their normal functioning once the situation stabilizes. Chairman, sir, we are also monitoring the situation with regard to the status of minorities. There are reports of initiatives by various groups and organizations to ensure their protection and well-being. We welcome that, but will naturally remain deeply concerned till law and order is visibly restored. Our border guarding forces have also been instructed to be exceptionally alert in view of this complex situation. In the last 24 hours, we have also been in regular touch with the authorities in Dhaka. This is the situation as of now. I seek the understanding and support of the House in regard to sensitive issues regarding an important neighbor on which there has always been strong national consensus. Thank you.
Debate resumes. Shri Deepak Prakash. Shri Deepak Prakash. No. Shri Deepak, please. Nothing positive. Everyone has positive. Please don't exploit it. Please. Shri Deepak Prakash. Shri Deepak Prakash. Shri Anil, nothing is going on record. Shri Anil Sukhdev Rao Bonde. What is this? Please understand this. I'm shocked.
So there you heard India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar briefing lawmakers in the Rajya Sabha, the upper house of India's parliament. He made a number of points, including giving lawmakers a timeline of events that unfolded in Bangladesh over the last few days. He spoke about how Sheikh Hasina is in India since the evening of 5th of August. He said there are 19,000 Indians in Bangladesh, of which 9,000 are still there in Bangladesh. He hoped for the safety and security of the 4 Indian assistant high commissions in Bangladesh as well. He said the Border Security Force of India is on high alert, and last but not the least, India is in touch with authorities in Dhaka. Moving on for now, US President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris were briefed on Monday by their national security teams on developments in West Asia, including threats posed by Iran and its proxies to American service members. The meeting also included US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. During the briefing, Biden and Harris were also told that it is still not clear when Iran and Hezbollah are likely to launch an attack against Israel and the specifics of such an attack. Iran blames Israel for the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and said it will punish it. However, Israeli officials have not claimed responsibility for the killing. Iran's foreign ministry on Monday called on the U.S. to stop supporting Israel. Meanwhile, the G7 countries have urged all to refrain from perpetuating current destructive cycle of retaliatory violence, to lower tensions and engage constructively toward de-escalation. The Secretary of Russia's Security Council, Sergei Shoigu, met Iran's Rear Admiral Ali Akbar Ahmadian, a senior Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commander who serves as Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, on Monday. After the meeting ended, it was concluded that Iran seeks to establish stability in the region, although this will only come with punishing the aggressor. Iran's foreign ministry called in ambassadors and heads of mission residing in Tehran for a meeting with acting Foreign Minister Ali Bagheri Kani on Monday to reiterate Iran's will to respond to Israel. An emergency meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation is scheduled for Wednesday at Iran's request to discuss the killing of Ismail Haniyeh and Iran's response to it. And Sarah Coates joins us from Tel Aviv for more. Sarah, what's the feeling on the ground as we speak?
Hello there, Ramesh. It is very, very tense. There is still no change in what we've been hearing from the military's home front command in terms of what people should be preparing for and what they are to do. We have been, of course, told to stay close to shelter, to know where these so-called safe rooms are. But people on the ground, they are out panic buying things like water, canned goods, really anticipating this response from Iran. Now it comes, Ramesh, as intensive diplomacy is continuing, with US officials reportedly telling Israeli officials to try and limit a response to Iran, with this attack expected to be imminent. Still no signs exactly of when this will happen, but certainly in other parts of Israel there are still these tit-for-tat cross-border strikes in the north. Over the last hour or so, red alert sirens have been ringing out in these largely evacuated northern communities of Israel. And we can tell you that there was an anti-tank missile that was shot over from the Lebanese side of that border into Israeli territory. This anti-tank missile did land in the yard of a home that has been evacuated with no injuries. Now, also, we are hearing unconfirmed reports on the Lebanese side that Israel has been striking in these southern Lebanese areas, with unconfirmed, once again, reports that 4 people have been killed.
Now, Iran is reported to be moving missile launchers into place. What more can you tell us?
This is being reported by US media, citing unnamed US officials, also saying that they've been carrying out military exercises in Iran. It is being widely reported, Ramesh, that an attack is imminent. And we do need to remember this meeting that you just mentioned there with the Russian Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu. He vowed that the Russians will cooperate with the Iranians. So certainly diplomacy continuing right around the region, and we are hearing these continued calls from foreign embassies telling their nationals to get out now while commercial flights are still available. They are available, but very few of them, given that so many of these airlines have now cancelled flights in and out of not just Israel, but of course also Beirut. Now, important to mention, South Korea has actually gone a step further than just calling on its citizens, Ramesh, to get out. It is now banning its citizens from any travel to either southern Lebanon or northern Israel.
Sarah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Sarah Coates there, reporting from Tel Aviv. In other news, nearly 400 people have been arrested and dozens injured after 6 days of riots in parts of England and Northern Ireland. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that violent protesters who had targeted Muslim communities would face the full force of the law as he sought to quell days of anti-immigration rioting. Starmer held an emergency meeting with relevant ministers and police representatives on Monday to discuss the response in the coming days to ensure that there is no repeat of the violent scenes. Over the past week, dozens of police officers were injured and shops, cars and homes damaged in disorder in the UK. It erupted the night after 3 children were killed in Southport in a stabbing attack last Monday. Several countries, including Australia, Malaysia, Indonesia and Nigeria, have issued travel alerts for the UK, warning their citizens to stay away from demonstrations. The High Commission of India in London on Tuesday issued a travel advisory as well, urging its citizens to exercise caution while travelling to the United Kingdom in light of recent protests and violence in that country. The advisory read, visitors from India are advised to stay vigilant and exercise due caution while travelling in the UK. It's advisable to follow local news and advisories and to avoid areas where protests are underway. It has also issued emergency email ID and helpline number, which is +44 020 7836 9147. I repeat, +44 020 7836 9147. The rest, all the details are on your screens. And joining me from London is my colleague Ollie Barrett. Ollie, has the UK government taken a view yet on how a protest against the killing of 3 girls in northwestern England morphed or changed into racist violence and arson targeting immigrants in particular across multiple towns and cities in the country? Can it all be blamed on misinformation or bots linked to hostile states? Ollie, are you with us? Can you hear me?
I can hear you trying to talk to me, but not properly. I'm hearing the sound of the gallery. I'm not getting studio sound.
Right. If I can repeat my question to you, Ollie, we'll try one more time. Has the UK government taken a view yet on how a protest against the killing of 3 girls in northwestern England morphed or changed into racist violence and arson targeting immigrants across multiple towns and cities in the country? Can it all be blamed on misinformation or bots linked to hostile states? Apologies for that disruption there. We'll try to link up with Ollie if we can later on the broadcast. Moving on for now. U.S. Democratic candidate Kamala Harris is expected to announce a vice presidential pick in the coming hours ahead of the pair's first campaign rally. Harris has reportedly cut a pool of possible running mates down to just 2, as Nick Harper reports from Washington, D.C.
Well, we thought Monday was going to be the day when Vice President Kamala Harris announced her vice presidential pick. However, that was not the case, that announcement being pushed back to Tuesday. It's not clear still what form that announcement will take. Remember, when Joe Biden announced his vice president, Kamala Harris, back in 2000, he did it in an email that was quickly followed up by a video. And the thinking is that we could see something similar, an email to supporters, a video put on various social media platforms. But of course, all of that will come before the late Tuesday afternoon rally that Kamala Harris and her vice presidential pick will be holding in the city of Philadelphia in the important swing state of Pennsylvania. Now, it seems as if her cast of about 6 or 7 candidates has now been whittled down to just 2. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and Tim Walz, the Minnesota governor. Those seem to be the final 2 in contention. We know that they had meetings with Kamala Harris, interviews over the course of the weekend at her private residence in Washington, D.C., and it really is now a wait-and-see situation. We know that after that rally on Tuesday, the 2 of them will then embark on a tour of about 6 or 7 other swing states, the likes of Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, all places that could make or break her chances of winning the election in November. So a crucial decision ahead. It's still not clear if she has finally made it or if that's something that she'll come to the decision on Tuesday morning, ahead of informing the public of who she wants to be her running mate for the 2024 election. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Japan on Tuesday marked the 79th anniversary of the US atomic bombing on Hiroshima. A memorial service was held in Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park, attended by Prime Minister Kishida Fumio, Hiroshima Mayor Kazumi Matsui and others. The Prime Minister called for a world free from nuclear weapons despite nuclear threats by Russia, making it even more challenging. About 50,000 participants, including ambassadors from 109 countries, sat at an outdoor memorial ceremony held at Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park. Still to come on DD India News Hour. A US judge rules that Google acted illegally to crush its competition and maintain its monopoly on online search. India's Avinash Sable qualifies for the men's 3,000-meter steeplechase final at the Paris Olympics. And we show you how Vietnamese youth are working to revive folk music.
Common theme between all major cities across the world is hope and the promise of new opportunities and possibilities that gravitates people towards them.
The reason why we advocate green transformations is because you can retain the building and you can actually modify.
There's a lot that happens when you extract sand beyond sustainable limits. It's going to change your course of your river, it's going to widen the channel, it's going to damage, and we are paying a big price.
We have 2 water reservoirs on 84 acres of land. During periods when the river water is non-saline, we store water in these reservoirs. Throughout the year, we distribute this water to residents.
Tiny houses are in vogue. Less is more. Many also assume tiny.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A US judge has ruled Google acted illegally to crush its competition and maintain a monopoly on online search and related advertising. The landmark decision on Monday is a major blow to Alphabet, Google's parent company, and could reshape how technology giants do business. Google was sued by the US Department of Justice in 2020 over its control of about 90% of the online search market. It's one of several lawsuits that have been filed against the big tech companies as US antitrust authorities attempt to strengthen competition in the industry. It's not clear yet as what penalties Google and Alphabet will face as a result of the decision. The fines or other remedies will be decided in a future hearing. Rebounding from Monday's losses, the Asian markets are trading in green on Tuesday, with Japan's Nikkei recovering almost all the losses seen in the previous session amid a fall in yen. Japan's Nikkei 225 index and topics rebounded more than 10%, the most since October of 2008. Among other Asian markets, South Korea's Kospi jumped over 4%, while the Kosdaq surged 5.5%. After witnessing a sharp downturn on Monday, the Indian stock market also opened higher on Tuesday. The benchmark Nifty 50 at the National Stock Exchange opened at 24,189.85, up by 290.6 points, while the BSE Sensex opened higher by 949.21 points, or 1.21%, to trade at 79,708.61. Meanwhile, in the US, the stock futures are trading higher on Tuesday. S&P 500 futures rebounded 0.9%, while Nasdaq futures rose 1.2%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average crashed 1,034 points, while the S&P 500 tanked 160.23 points. The Nasdaq Composite ended 576.08 points, or 3.43% lower at 16,200.08. And now to all the updates from the Paris Olympics with my colleague Deepika. Deepika, over to you.
Thanks and good afternoon. Let's quickly get all our viewers what's the latest that is happening in Paris as the 32nd Olympics edition is currently going on. So to begin with it, at Paris Olympics today, Team India is all set to take on reigning FIH champions Germany in the semi-final clash. Let's now take a look at this pre-match preview of the high-octane clash scheduled for tonight.
In a much-awaited clash of the Paris Olympics, the Indian hockey team is all set to take on Germany in the semi-final clash. Tokyo Olympics bronze medalist Team Hockey will now look forward to change its medal colour this time at the Paris Olympics. India, who's ranked 5th in the world, will face Germany, who are the 4-time Olympic gold medalist and reigning FIH Hockey World Cup champions. If we talk about their previous encounters, the odds are not in favour of India, as Germany have won 53 matches out of 106 between the two sides, and the Indians have won just 26 with 27 games ending in draws. In Olympics, India and Germany played 12 matches, in which India won 5, Germany 4 and 3 were drawn. However, India have had the upper hand in the last 6 matches, winning 5 of them and losing just 1. Let's take a look at India's journey to semi-finals at Paris Olympics. If we talk about the group stage, India beat New Zealand by 3-2. In second group stage encounter, Indian men's hockey team secured a 1-1 draw against Argentina. India then beat Ireland by 2-0, but India lost to Belgium by 1-2. Eventually, India created history by defeating Australia by 3-2 in group stage clash, and in quarterfinals, India beat Great Britain in a dramatic finish and now are all set to face Germany in their semi-final clash. However, India will be without the services of defender and first rusher Amit Rohidas in the semi-final clash, as he is serving a one-match ban for an offence during the game against Great Britain. But India is determined and keen on securing a victory in order to change their medal colour this time at the Paris Games. Sports Desk, DD India.
And now let's quickly take a look at what all is scheduled for the Indian contingent today at the Paris Olympics. To begin with wrestling, India's Vinesh Phogat is participating in her third Olympics overall. Vinesh Phogat will be up against Japan's Yui Sasaki in women's freestyle 50 kg weight category in round of 16. She'll be playing at 3 p.m. according to Indian Standard Time. Meanwhile, defending champion Neeraj Chopra will be in action at men's javelin throw Group B qualification round. India will have much expectations from Neeraj as he will be performing today. Kishore Jeena is currently in action in men's javelin throw. Later on in the evening, the much anticipated semi-final clash will be up, where India will be playing against Germany at 10:30 p.m. according to the Indian Standard Time. Another good news from athletics, India's Avinash Sable has qualified for the final round of men's 3,000 meter steeplechase event on Monday night, finishing on the 5th spot. The Indian athlete started the race strongly, being at the front for the first 1,000 meters. However, he fell behind his opponents afterwards. And despite facing a slight hiccup in one of the hurdles, he finished at 5th position and advanced through to the final round in steeplechase. That was a quick wrap from the world of Olympics. Right now, back to Ramesh.
Thank you. Before we close, youth in Vietnam are returning to the folk music Zam. It's considered to be purely a Vietnamese art form. With efforts to revive the art form despite its many ups and downs, it's being learned and performed as a professional entertainment activity in the capital city while creating a stable source of income for young artists.
Yeah.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Hub. You can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download it. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.